Jaguar, the umbrella species, is a project that we initiated in 2016 based on conversations between the two scientists involved in the project and myself. The scientists Samia and Mathias work often in Peru, attempting to track and study the endangered jaguar species.
The goals of this project, it's to reach people, to try to bring science to people. So it started when I started talking to Lucy about the science that we do in the Amazon and how I wanted to bring it to people. We can do a lot of science and bring a lot of data and interpret the data and work on the data, but if that doesn't get to the people, then it doesn't mean anything.
The jaguar is an umbrella species. You see here in a very simple design the many species contained and protected within the jaguar's habitat. Samia will explain a little further about what that visual name is.
So jaguars are a very charismatic species. They are predators on the top chain. That means that nothing predates on jaguars except humans. But in a natural world where everything works, naturally, let's say, in a world without humans, jaguars will be on the top chain. We study their habitats and the places where they live, what they eat, and at the same time, we're trying to protect the habitat where they live in. And when we do that, we are also protecting all the species that are living within that habitat. That's actually what the project is trying to explain. That jaguars are what we biologists call an umbrella species, because they act like an umbrella that is protecting many, many species that live in that habitat that they are living on.
We began to discuss how could we use art and interactive media in particular as a vehicle for communicating the need to protect a species that inspires fear in locals and also globally. How could we change the dialogue about this animal? What came up in our discussions began first as playful visualizations, envisioning what would a jaguar umbrella look like. And ultimately, CSUSM students Kodie, Gerritsen, and Sarai, Silva, Carvajal started to build concepts that began as preliminary discussion. They created an interactive music box that is also an umbrella. That umbrella embodies the concept of an umbrella species, one species whose presence indicates the survival and the well-being of an ecosystem. And so in this sense, the jaguar is more of a caretaker than a predator. Here you see the sketches of the project. How would the students visualize the number of species whose survival is at risk?
Oh, the purple is the turtle, and so they would look on the umbrella and see the purple dots. This way it's easier to grasp the concept of how many there is, how many of these animals actually depend on the jaguar. And yeah, so that's why we did it with dots from the umbrella.
This is an early prototype. This project is evolving and is developing into do-it-yourself kits for K through 12 populations where students in classrooms will build together a wooden and felted and paper-based project with sustainable materials that illustrates the specific classroom's research surrounding the jaguar and the subspecies within that umbrella that the class identifies. This project began with a sustainability challenge. Alongside that, one of the resources we had to begin with is the data and the research of the collaborating scientists. The next step in our process involved modeling by students, and this began as sketches and then three-dimensional and digital modeling. With the model in hand, we have opportunities to display that model and discuss the concepts behind those, thereby increasing the awareness and understanding of the original concept. Along with those models, we have potential for outreach to K through 12 students. That outreach to the community, to K through 12 students, results in tangible benefits to society. Those benefits, in turn, have potential to shift public opinion in a way that changes behavior that then results in a benefit to the environment. The modeling of that data, that scientific data, promises to benefit the field as well by increasing understanding in the public of the scientists' study.
I feel very lucky that we found this partnership with Lucy, because for months I was breaking my head thinking, how can we bring science to kids at school, for example, what we are doing, what we are discovering to kids at school or people in general too.
This is a workshop in collaboration with my colleague David Avalos, along with those students, Sarai and Kodie, in a local K-12 environment. In these workshops, we gave students hands-on art and science lessons, this integrated STEAM approach to get students involved in how the Earth system works. This involved dancing and play and clay creation. Stephanie Pace Marshall writes, "When children engage in deep disciplinary inquiry, investigation, and experimentation, they learn to inquire, explore, and invent. When they creatively practice framing and solving challenging and messy real-world problems, they learn to innovatively resolve complexity. And when they collaboratively wrestle with moral and ethical dilemmas, they learn to more imaginatively and wisely grapple with issues of social justice." Extrapolating this out into sustainability, K-12 multidisciplinary engagement with issues surrounding ecosystems and resource conservation will result in innovation and engagement. I often make artwork that is very much about human interactions with the environment and how a human being as a viewer or as an interactor in an art piece is metaphorically interacting with the environment. This piece is a roly-poly piano designed for duets with roly-polies. That involves a playful interaction. We all remember finding roly-polies in summertime and playing with them. This project requires that kind of playful interaction with nature. In order to play the piano, one must go find a roly-poly. This piano is a little bit different from your average piano. Obviously, it's much smaller, and a roly-poly can trigger the various sounds, but also I've shifted the scale of this piano so that the notes reflect, going from flat to sharp, really, the shift in global mean surface temperature since 1955. So as one plays the piano and proceeds up the notes, one will find the notes becoming sharper and sharper, reflecting temperature shifts. This piano is designed for duets. So one can play with the roly-poly. The piano detects the roly-poly's crawling as well as the human hand. Albeit this roly-poly is probably not delighted by being able to play this piano. It's really made for the human player. Here we have a child who has gone out to find a roly-poly. You can see that no roly-polies were harmed in the creation of this piece. In fact, there is a net to catch any stray roly-polies. I feel compelled to use technology, to exploit technology, to connect us to nature and to comment on our interactions with nature. I recognize the ironies in that. I like to be in a studio thinking about how to bring nature into an unnatural environment in order to contemplate connecting with nature more. It sounds absurd, but in fact I think that the many mechanisms that we have in life for observing nature, from binoculars to an app that visualizes the stars above us, do indeed become conduits for those connections. As I and my collaborators contemplate how to visualize an ecosystem in which human beings play an important role, I think it is important to reflect upon the long tradition that we human beings have of relating to animals, stemming from our earliest artistic renditions. In those early cave paintings, rendered thousands of years ago, our creative predecessors felt compelled to portray animal life and nature. The relationship from human beings to animals has always been at the forefront of human endeavor. That relationship, and certainly that imaginative coupling between humanity and nature, punctuates every culture, from the Great Sphinx to the pre-Columbian half-jaguar deity. Human beings have forever imagined ourselves more powerful, more imbued with bravery and wisdom when coupled with nature.
And jaguars are a very charismatic species that has been in the mythology of many of the ancient cultures in the Americas. For the Mayans, jaguars are sacred. For the Aztecs, jaguars are sacred. In Peru, for the Incas, jaguars and pumas were sacred. For the Mayans, they were the personification of braveness, and their main warriors were the jaguar warriors too. For the Aztecs used to say that jaguars had the sky on their skin, the map of the sky on their skin. So whenever they come at night, it's because the jaguars came out at night, and they brought the stars with them. And no jaguars meant no sky. So we want to protect that as well. We want the future generations to keep protecting the jaguars, and at the same time to keep protecting the habitats, to keep learning from all that mythology.
The anti-Darwinian view that humans are different in kind rather than degree from other animals is a powerful conceit, but it does not stand up to scrutiny. James Gould and Carol Grant decry the uniqueness of human beings as standing above other species. And yet, we are unique in our ability to do harm on the planet and on other species. I imagine this dialogue. An elephant and a human being are taking a walk. The elephant says, "Elephants are smarter than human beings." The human being says, "Elephants are not smarter. That's ridiculous. What do they know?" The elephant replies, "You'll never know. Human beings lack empathy." The jaguar umbrella is an empathy-inducing machine. This is a project that, like all of the contraptions I make, is designed collectively, in this case, by a group of artists, scientists, and students to shift the perspective of human beings so that we are compelled to see ourselves as actors in the grand theater of Earth, as prime movers in the determination of nature. The viewer is the one who seeks out and places the roly-poly onto the stage. The roly-poly traverses Earth's temperatures unwittingly. This pill bug, as it is also known, is not responsible for the shifting climate which it plays upon. Can interactive artworks and creative interfaces act as empathy-inducing engines for understanding environmental consequences? Certainly, art and science and interactivity can work together. I hold that in the context of education and creation, indeed, the results can be the human being empathetic to the elephant. The conversation can shift. And shifting that conversation is the goal of this particular collaboration. Jody Emmel and Jennifer Walsh claim, "Feminism and postmodernism have undermined the beliefs that define modernism, rendering the boundaries between humans and animals erected by intellectuals much more fluid and contestable. Freed from these theoretical tethers, we are now led, inevitably, to the animal question. Can the human being and the elephant have a two-way conversation? Can human beings become umbrella species for jaguars?" Undergraduate research combining K through 12 involvement and integrated arts and science learning, or STEAM, with innovative technologies and a sense of invention. These are a complex yet integrated form of addressing the human-animal equation.